This week's challenge is all about spring.
We're talking about spring. There's lots of things which are just coming out, whether or not they're hidden under your nose when you're out there, or even in the house. Some daffodils. How just to improve some simple ideas, take them to the next stage. Obviously, you don't have to go out. Obviously under the circumstances at the moment, but if you're out for your daily walk or whatever and you have the opportunity to explore what's in there, even if it's only in your garden, you don't need to go that far. This time of year the daffodils are just starting to come up. We've got snowdrops, little buds and stuff is just starting on the trees. Use your imagination. You could use whatever you feel as if it portrays spring, whether or not it's actually the weather or the time of year, or you could actually include a spring in the picture. But it is use of colour. I mean, how colour makes you feel about an object and a subject is actually it's a big thing of pictures. Obviously you can do black and white pictures, but for some reason spring seems to bring out colours, burst of new life, things are coming back into where it's been dull for the winter period. So use bright colours where you possibly can. Obviously, just as an example, we've got these obviously yellow daffodils, and I'm not going to harp on too much about colour wheels, but they do play quite an important role in photography, as well as other things in your life, which you might not realise until you actually perhaps have a look at it and see how they work, whether or not it's interior design in your house or doing your garden, planting your garden. They're good things which go together, and sometimes they're actually quite overlooked. Talking of colour wheels, the first colour wheels were actually, the first colour wheel was invented by our friend Isaac Newton in Cambridge, in Trinity College. Just so happens it was the same year as the plague. Obviously he was trapped in his dormitory as a young man, and he came up with a colour wheel, but he'd wrote the colours out in the right directions for it. Obviously I think he probably painted some, but the very first pictures of it was just written in the colours. The one we actually know today is Johanna Atta, and that was a bit later on, was actually the first colour printed one. And talking of printed, originally when they first started doing printing, you'd have like lithograph things, and you only had three colours. You had red, blue and yellow. They didn't include black, but the colours all came out muddy, the pictures came out muddy, so then they included black. Hence, when you actually look on, if you use a printer, and on most cartridges, they're marked up. Got a little paper here, just to remind me of all the dates and things. Obviously, your blue's got marked up cyan, magenta's red, and yellow has always been yellow, right? And that's how they're often marked up on ink cartridges: cyan, magenta and yellow. But then also marked on the side, they're marked up B, R and Y, which is often you see on other software, whether it's Photoshop or one of the other ones, with the RGB, which is all to do with the primary colours. I'm not going to go too much in it because we can go on for hours just talking about this alone. Then they included black. But B had really been used in the printing industry for blue. So they had to come up with another letter to illustrate it. So if you look on your black cartridge, ink cartridge, it will be marked up K, which is actually the last letter of black. So they've decided to use it. So you have R, Y, B and K, hence K for black. Right, I shall throw this out of the way, so I don't need to look at that anymore. Colour wheel. Obviously I've got a sheet of paper here, but you could equally, I mean, do you really want to be carrying a sheet of paper around? No, not really. Might be worth taking a picture of a colour wheel and having it on a phone, because then it's always in your pocket. So that way, if you actually want to, you're out somewhere and you just, you know, think, oh, what colour goes with that? Or even if you're doing something inside the house and you think, what colour background would go well with whether or not it's a water droplet, and you've made the water droplet coloured, and you're thinking what colour would go behind it, or something as simple as our flowers here. So if you look on the colour wheel, what colours go well with it, to make the most of those flowers. So obviously the flowers are the main object in the picture of, you know, you're trying to take. So yellow and sort of blue. So obviously they're the two colours which actually work as well as best to go with them, if you see what I mean. Obviously the green stem are more into reds, but your eyes go into the yellow. So obviously looking at my background, I've got green walls, which isn't ideal. I mean, it's natural, they're colours. If you actually look back on the colour wheel again, yellow and green are next to each other. So they actually complement each other, is what it's called. So in a natural environment, they would go quite well together. Nature, it just shows you when, you know, we're going back towards nature wise. But if you actually want to make them stand out, you could think, well, I've got blue. And I haven't actually got a lot in here blue, but outside the sky's blue this morning. So if I was to take a picture of these on the windowsill, which I should do, give me a second. Right, I've seen back in the picture again now. I'm going to put my daffodils on the windowsill. Don't even really go outside. And I've got a nice blue sky, rather than the green. It's quite a bit higher. Use a container just to raise it up a little bit, get it in the middle of the window. And what I'm going to use is a fairly short focal length. We've been talking about focal lengths before. So if I use a low focal length, f3.5 be a good one to use, because that will get most things quite sharp. It's bright outside, so I'm going to need a fast speed. But obviously if you're using one of the automatic settings, and you're hand holding it, I would aperture priority, f3, f4. Don't really need to go anything else because it's only here. And if you don't want anything else in the background, you say, oh, I'm still getting things in the background when I'm doing that. What you do, if you zoom out as far as you can, and then use your legs to move back to frame it, and then take the picture. So, zoomed out as far as I can, focus in on the picture, right, and blue sky, flowers, simple as that. Natural lighting, don't even need to use the flash. So let's go out and have a wander and see what else we can find. Here we are in a little bit of scrubland, just in the middle of the village, next to the road, and there's some interesting little bits and pieces. just show you what I've come across. There's a leafcutter bug, and there's a couple of ladybirds this time of year, just all coming out. Obviously, if you're trying to take a picture of something like this, which is obviously spring because things are starting, and there's an odd branch in the way, just move it. I should take a few pictures of this and show you what I've come across. We're in a beautiful little copse open behind me, it's in pasture land, and there's a hedge here, and there's not much on it. There's a few little berry sort of type things where the blossom's going to come out, and it's a bit of white blossom, and I can hear you cry out, you know, the background. What about the background? It's not a very big flower, so what we could do to make it more interesting, there was a little bug on it a minute ago, and I did actually manage to get a picture of it, so I'll see how it comes out. But if not, we've still got this little bit of blossom just here, right? And how can we make it interesting? Well, we do the same with snowdrops, because white isn't actually a colour, and what we could do is we could make the black background black. So you've got white and black, nice contrasting colour. Perhaps leave a little bit of feature in there. The easiest way, the best way of doing it is actually just go onto speed, unless you're going to use manual totally, but if you go onto speed, increase, take a picture, see if it's too dark or not. And the idea is to actually get the picture almost dark so you can just about see the highlights of the flower in the picture. Obviously, if you see too much, speed it up a little bit. Speed it up until you can't actually see the flower, or you can just about see the flower and you can't see the background, right? Then, even if you haven't got anything else by your little pop-up flash, right, use your pop-up flash to introduce some flash to it. Brilliant daylight. Look, it's sunny today, but there's no reason why you can't use flash when you're outside. So add the flash, right? Or you could use a torch, but most people have a little flash on their cameras. All you need is a little flash, and you're quite close to the flower, and all it's going to do is just illuminate the flower. I know you're going to say, oh, illuminate everything else around it, but it won't, because your pop-up little flash is really quite small, and it doesn't actually need a lot of light to actually pick it out, especially when it's white, because white reflects. If it was any other colour, you might struggle more, but if you're using white, it's going to reflect. So I should take a picture and let you see. Right, I shall post it on there. You probably can't see in this, but it's come out quite nice. Let's see what else we can find. We're so lucky to have so many beautiful things on our doorstep. This time of year, just get out there and see what's out there. It's probably under your nose without even looking. Little buds coming out everywhere you'd look. A little tiny pond there, and there'll be frog spawn in there. If there's not in there now, there will be in the next few weeks. The birds are tweeting. The little creatures and things have been in hibernation for the last 6 months. They're all coming out now. So get out there, take some pictures in the garden. We have some crocuses here on the ground, and I hear you say, look at the colour, what's going to match with it? Hang on, let me get my mobile phone out and have a quick look on the colour wheel. If you look on the colour wheel, if you can see it in this light, which you probably can't, but it's purple and almost opposite purple, purpley colour. You can sort of almost match things up with it. It's green, and we've got grass next to it. Obviously the adjacent colour would be blues, pinks, but to make it stand out most, the stamen's yellow. So we go, if you look on the other side of the chart, you've got green and yellow. So I'm going to take some pictures of this, and how I'm going to do it, I'm going to get down to the same level as the flower. It's quite a long flower, not much else in it in the picture. So what I'm going to do, a fairly short field of depth, because I don't really want the background in, and obviously look at it when you do it and see if there's any grass in the way that's actually ungainly to the picture. It's only a case of picking an odd bit out of the way rather than look at it afterwards and think to yourself, oh, that's horrible, that bit of grass. So a fairly short focal length. I've gone for f4.5, ISO 100. The sun's coming out now, so that's good. And I'm going to hand hold it. I've got 160th of a second, because that way it reduces any shake on it. I might use try one like this first, remembering which way the but there's not much flare to it. It's all right. I mean, it's not. I'll just use my pop-up flash again. Just add a little bit of flash just to the side of the flower. That is so much better. Just adds a little bit of light coming in. It's not an enormous amount of light, but just on the flower itself, not on the background. So they're actually quite handy to use a pop-up flash. There's loads of things out there to do. Gave you a few ideas and some inspiration to go outside and take some spring pictures. Obviously, remember the colour wheel. It is handy. It's not all and be all end of it. Just make it up as you go along if you need to, but it's a handy thing to actually have a look at. If you've never actually looked at it, just spend 10 minutes looking at it, because it will make a difference to your pictures, the impact they give. I mean, obviously reds are fire, excitement, blue, calm, cold. It does speak for itself. Green, we have green room. You have green rooms in theatres and stuff. Calms you down. Go out in the countryside. It's green. It's relaxing. People say go for a walk and you get relaxed. It's true. You're surrounded by green. Not so much this time of year, but it's just starting, and it really is inspiring to go out for a walk, see what you come across. Things you just walk past and don't look at. It opens your eyes to things. It's a great thing with photography. So get out, dust your camera off, blow the dust off of it, and get out and do some pictures.